What happens when your understanding of the divine no longer fits inside of one tradition? Welcome to the Magdalene Interview Series. This is some of what we're going to be discussing as I introduce all of you to Jennie Gentry, who is a new friend to me and also from the Reno community. So excited. I'll be getting to know her alongside all of you. We met at a networking event and she said like a few words, during the thing. And we actually didn't get to connect at the event. And something in me was like, nope, you got to find her and you got to invite her onto the show. So here we are today in like a set of more synchronicities than we could even say, to have Jennie here on the show with us today. And before we just dive in, I'll extend the invitation that I'm leading a pleasure pilgrimage, a Magdalene Black Madonna pilgrimage and retreat to the south of France in September. And I created this interview series, so that you could see how I see women holding space together, how I believe priestesses come together and hold space, which is in celebration of one another, in celebration of our diversity and our differences and our own inner wisdom. And also so that we could widen the conversation around Mary Magdalene and around the Black Madonna and what those symbols mean, beyond a narrow lens, which the Magdalene has kind of often been portrayed in. And so, without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to Jennie. And Jennie, will you let us know a little bit about who you are and what your work is in the world?
Yeah, so I'm Jennie. I am a yoga instructor and soul evolution guide. So ultimately, I created a program that's called Embodied Union. It works through the Sophia Christ current and takes into account the teachings of Helen Yee Flen, also on the Aura Color Wheel. So it really ties into just frequency-based consciousness and just the essence of healing through the different layers of yourself in order to really access and trust your own divine gifts. So everything I do with cord cutting ceremonies, yoga, meditation kind of leads into that. But yeah, that's kind of what I do in a nutshell. But
awesome. And just because I'm also curious, like, how long have you been in the Reno community? And yeah, tell us a little bit about something that's not related to all the priestess lineage.
So I moved to Reno in 2018. I left a man and crossed state lines and followed my parents after they retired. So my mom and my stepdad are out here. And then that was after my first yoga teacher training. And then I graduated from UNR and graduated with my bachelor's in agricultural science with a concentration in veterinary science. So basically pre-vet. So in my past life, in this lifetime, I was a veterinary technician. So moving deeper into just actually teaching yoga and having offerings in like for Ho'oponopono and forgiveness and whatnot. That's been over really the last year. And I've still kind of been finding my little space in Reno. But so yeah, hopefully if anyone out there in Reno is looking for cord cutting ceremonies and yeah, just more intuitive development, let me know.
Oh, cool. What studio do you teach at?
I host ceremonies over at Wildflower on 7th in Reno. So my next one is actually this Saturday. And then for yoga, I'm a sub at Sweet Apple Yoga, which is right next.
Oh, I love Sweet Apple.
Yes. So if you're around on Friday or Saturday at 10 a.m., I'm subbing for that flow class as well.
So cool. I just did their chanting segment, their yoga teacher training, like 2 weeks ago, something. So funny. We know such a small world. Okay, well, let's dive in here. I'd love for you to share a little bit about this. You talked about a dark night of the soul and kind of having some of these different cultures and symbols come together. Can you like tell us a little bit, as much as you feel to share, about that experience and like what you discovered from that?
Yeah. So I love this story now. Didn't love it while it was kind of I was
That's how they go.
yeah. But so I was doing yoga teacher training, a whole bunch of breath work really, and there's a specific breath work that it's called the Granthi Buster, and really is a combination of mudras, clarifying breaths, and body locks. And I was doing this for 40 days because I like to do 40-day practices for transformation purposes and also discipline. Sometimes I just need more discipline in my life. So I was doing all of that and kind of just started unlocking everything, was going to Shasta, love Mount Shasta, but there is something in that water. I swear that if you drink it, you start seeing light codes. It's like this, but it also goes through the mountain for 8 years before it comes out. And
Right.
yeah, so at a cellular level, we even after 7 years create. So I feel like some kind of alchemy actually happens in that mountain to where it purifies you. So
well, I have to just pause you there for a moment and say my publishing company, the Heart Open Publishing Enterprise, published an anthology on Mount Shasta. So like, yeah, I'm like, yeah, I got so initiated in that process of like meeting 20 authors and like having them each share their story. Like, so it's called Call of the Mystical Mountain for those of you watching. If you are new to me and didn't know, you can go check out that book. It's amazing. And Jenny, it sounds like you would love it. So I'm like, yeah, I know what you're saying about Mount Shasta.
Yes, and it's the root chakra of the world. But I always say that when you go deeper into your root chakra, you kind of shoot up into the crown, because the deeper you feel like you're grounded, the more open you can kind of expand, because you have your roots and something to actually bring it into. So yeah, just one of my favorite things. But I love that. I'm going to read that book.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're doing this work and you're doing this unlocking and you're working with energies around Mount Shasta. And then what? Where are we at?
So I just started channeling, and kind of I was with friends and they kind of just confirmed it. And after that, I started trusting it more. So I was kind of just doing it more intentionally, which is great, but also I wasn't grounding, also kind of like I said, where like the deeper you ground, the more you can expand. So I was kind of just like up here, and I actually had a bowl for Lakshmi, and it was like I just felt like this energy shifting around me, where I was sensing a lot more energy, and was Palo Santoing all around my apartment, and just saw all this black smoke kind of around that bowl. And I was like, okay, I don't think Lakshmi is dark, but kind of what I learned through this process is sometimes we create these just portals of energy that if we don't have discernment, and if we don't kind of clarify what the actual intention, what the energy we want surrounding that, which at this point is going to be unconditional love and just that highest frequency vibrational light. So not clarifying that, I kind of just recognized all this darkness and kind of sensed it around that area. So I laid in meditation and was just doing all of this, like kind of just cord cutting meditations and whatnot, and just said, Jesus, can you help me out? Like, I don't really know where else to turn. And heard this voice that it was like what I would name as Jesus's voice of like, my child, you know better. And then I saw a chalice, an ankh, and what I'm now identifying as like the sign for Vesta. And kind of just recognized that like in that moment, I was just like, okay, now I'm seeing all of these symbols that like aren't exactly what I would think to be associated with Jesus, but also recognizing that like as I dove deeper into it, that it was just this hero with 1,000 faces. And what I truly needed was discernment of energy and kind of where I was putting it also. So that was kind of just like this. Yeah, it for a while I was like, I can only connect to Jesus. I have to go to church all the time. And then I like also went kind of crazy because I was like, but there's so much more to it. And I had this like pendulum swing for a little bit where I was like, but what's true? And what really like kind of solidified the hero with 1,000 faces, which is kind of like what I call Sophia now, is like, because they all kind of like morph through each other. But, and as long as it's through unconditional love, that's kind of how I see the divine and how I almost channel through it. But I see it as like the silvery light that pours down into this blue ball. And then I was like, oh, that's Kuan Yin. And then from that emerged a cross. And that cross that I named as Jesus hugged me. And I was like, oh, they all emerge from each other. They're all actually kind of the same thing. And we have personalities and we go through different things. And the different like personalities come through at different times based on what we need. So yeah, that was, I guess, probably I think more than you asked for, but
that was beautiful. And I feel like it's a good moment to like take a pause and take a breath. And like that was like a very just beautiful transmission. And it's so interesting that so many of us, I think, are coming into this space around like it's all one and it's all unconditional love. And being able to pull from multiple traditions like that is something that is, relatively new. Like the more that humankind has become more aware of other cultures and more like enmeshed together and things like that, and knowing then some of what you shared with me before we came on and went live, like I'd love to transition a little bit of this conversation to this conversation around being grounded and respectful towards the cultures that we're not from, that we are benefiting from, and how do we give back and how do we create right relationship. And I feel like this is really pertinent to the Magdalene because we know that she lived at an intersection of multiple cultures. And she also herself carried multiple spiritual traditions. And so for me, one of the primary Magdalene principles that has come through is this element of how do we be in right relation, and like how do we hold this essence of unconditional love and we're all one, while also holding like an honoring real lived experience and the struggle and the suffering that has happened because of the creation of race and because of we have these traditions because people have carried them. And so I love to bring that to this conversation and just love to hear, like, for you, as you are bringing in, and you have mentioned even more traditions than I even know about. Like, I don't know several of the things you said. I was like, I don't even know what that is. Like, share with us a little bit about like the different teachers you've studied with and like what right relationship looks like for you.
I think definitely even when I think that like kind of with like the aura color wheel is that the direction maybe, but sure. But kind of just my teachings with like using the aura color wheel is there actually is not an aura color wheel like practitioner program yet, but I was one of Helen's students and I was just like kind of just like doing this stuff. Is that okay that I'm like, this is trademarked? Like, she's like, you're an aura color wheel practitioner now. And also like, now we're going to have an aura practitioner program. And was like, oh, okay, cool. So I think just like kind of obviously like when I learn from specific people about specific things, definitely like asking them if I can use particular titles before I move deeper into that, but also just going off of that, like giving credit kind of when you learn a particular thing, like if it didn't like come from my subconscious brain, then I'll say, oh, I learned this from this person. And this is kind of the lineage of like where I moved, like learned it from. Cause even when I talk about the Sophia Code, which I was like, I have the book right here. So I'll talk about the book, but then I'll also talk about Be the Phoenix, Brittany, who really like helps me integrate that information. And she is like just this black goddess that like also identifies like as a siren soul, like a siren soul, and just has this voice that like it like her voice, her humming even is a transmission that just like moves things deeper through your body and like wakes up also esoteric wisdom. And I think that like esoteric wisdom is also like just so interesting because I'll just kind of intuitively do things and I'm just like, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And then 3 months later, I've been doing this. And then I learned that it has a name and a whole lineage around it. And then but then I also want to dive deeper into that. And even with Ho'oponopono ceremonies is I learned about that, or I mean, I've like done it before, but really like sunk deeper into Ho'oponopono and started offering ceremonies. But then I was like, oh, I probably should learn more about this culture if I'm going to be like using this, even though it's like kind of the lineage is different. Like I'm still going to go to these events where I can learn about how Hawaii was never actually properly annexed and like question they really should be a lot more sovereign. I'm like long story short is like it wasn't actually properly done, and in essence they could be independent if they fought more, and they also didn't have access to their own I'm on like a little tangent right now,
This is great, carry on.
but they like didn't have like they couldn't legally speak their own language for so long. So there's so much esoteric wisdom that Hawaiians also have that like they even have to go back and try to translate these things, but a lot of like but that's also kind of shows that esoteric wisdom kind of lives in the body and in the DNA because it truly is like a different culture that like radiates so much love that like it is deeply ingrained into their being. But there's also so much more in these books, in this history that like yet to be unfolded. That I mean, when we look about all of so many sacred texts and so many powerful texts that were kind of just like shrunk down and not able to really be honored in ways. Yeah. So
Yeah, I think that's such an important like part of the conversation. Like when you really start to dig and it's like, oh, look, we're working with this tiny aspect of a huge spiritual tradition. And like, yeah, to be in relationship with the understanding around how oppression created the systems so that not all of the teachings could be passed down. And like, yeah, I so honor the way that you are in proximity with teachers who are from the same lineage as many of the things that you are holding. And it's it's rare, Jennie. Like, I don't know if you're like, no, like, it's really beautiful for you to like actually sacrifice some time to study and know and understand and you know, to get close to teachers from different lineages and backgrounds. It's really beautiful, and I think it's something that more white women should be doing, especially if we're going to go around and, you know, wave sage and do these different things that we do. I really love that, and I think that you know, I forget how you express this element of like I did the thing and then I was like, oh, I should learn more, or like, or I should ask, can I be doing this practice and stuff? Like, it just is really beautiful. So thank you, because there's nobody gatekeeping you. Like, there's nobody like saying that you need to do those things. And it's beautiful. And I think that that's a huge element of how Magdalene would be if she were here today, you know?
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, yeah.
Love that
So,
compliment.
yeah. Um, when you think about Mary Magdalene herself, like where is that relationship for you, or where does Magdalene show up in your work?
So it's actually funny. I feel so when I was doing my root chakra and heart chakra, because I have the chakras in my embodied union program, and different kind of ascended masters have different weeks and different chakras. And Mother Mary and Mary Magdalene were like kind of like fighting for the heart / the root chakra. And I like for a good week could not figure it out, because I had Mary Magdalene in the heart chakra, and mother she was like, nope, I belong in the root. And I was like, why do you have to be here? But I guess you have to be here and I'll figure it out later. And really it's because the root and the crown are like, to me, are like kind of just like the Shakti and Shiva, like that, like divine feminine and divine masculine. And that's why what I learned later from my own intuition, I was like, I wanted it this way, but my higher self doesn't. But really just like that divine union through it that like attunes in the heart, which is kind of Mother Mary too, who was one of Mary Magdalene's greatest teachers. And so I like definitely think that she was obviously a real person and had so much power. I was studying this morning too, but I have the Gnostic Gospels over here. And I was kind of like deeply relating just to like the first book of Pistis Sophia. And I definitely feel like I'm called, I felt like I had to bring this up, but also just like kind of like the relationship with like the lion-faced God in that one, where I think I was actually looking for this like excerpt of it, but I couldn't find it. But really just that like it's that sacred anger, which I kind of relate to Sekhmet, even if it's not described as feminine in that text. I don't always agree with translations anyway. But the essence is there. And it really is like that sacred anger that like you allow yourself to kind of experience and give yourself that sacred information. And then also not let it dim your own light. So, because with Mary Magdalene, like one of the first like light codes that I was seeing was a chalice. And I was like, why do I keep seeing a chalice? And it really is like, that's the symbol that I have for Mary Magdalene. And it's this essence of divine purity and allowing the divine to fill you up, but also only pouring from an empty cup, only pouring from like, not even pouring, just having overflow, and there just being an overflow of all of this love and allowing that divine essence to also purify like your own vessel. I like I say I'm a bad yogi, I'll admit, and I've had a cigarette like habit addiction for like 10 years, and like really the teachings of Mary Magdalene really like every time I like have been like wanting to like sink deeper into like kind of just like starting over and like giving myself grace and whatnot, which is I think a huge part of like just that whole journey, because
Yeah.
I've just learned that there's just so many layers to like your own personality and patterning and healing, that like the more I heal those layers, the easier it is for me to just like go days without it.
Yeah.
But then I don't know, it's a strong little force, those things.
Right.
Um, but really like the teachings of Mary Magdalene and just like reading them out of the Sophia Code really helped me kind of just like come back to like treating my body like it actually like is worth loving, and my body loves me and has a purpose and has all of these things that it like service that it wants to carry out, that everything outside of me doesn't even matter. It's so much easier to just like come back into that through and that is the key code that I always come back to when and doing it daily also is never a bad idea.
That's so cool. Like, I'm hearing you say that Mary Magdalene is helping you walk this path with tobacco and nicotine, and like in a tangible way, like helping support you to move through that with grace and love yourself more through the experience, and like learn all that you're meant to learn from that. And I'm like, that is amazing. I love that.
Thank you. I mean, you don't have to be perfect and like what not to walk. I mean, I feel like that's kind of just like trying to get there. Like the journey of it is so important.
Exactly. Thank you for this conversation, Jennie. I've appreciated so much of what you've shared. And even this last piece is so profound. Like, I think there's this performative element that shows up in our spiritual practices that's like, what women have been doing to ourselves since the beginning. Geez, of like, oh, look, I'm so pure and I don't have any issues. Like, that's not real. And I think that when we can take our spiritual practices and ground them into our body, it's what makes it all real. And it's the difference between using our spiritual practices to bypass what we're really experiencing versus using our spiritual practices to be more and more in our body and more human, which makes us more and more full of that unconditional love that you've talked about from the beginning. So thank you for your message with all of us today. Where can people connect with you? And any last final words you want to share before we wrap up today?
So my website is yogazenbyjen.com, and my Instagram is mindfully limitless yoga. And I do have a online program that I'm launching. So live calls start on April 25th. That's a Saturday, and it's a 12-week group container. Mary Magdalene has week 3, but we also meet Green Tara, Isis, work through limiting beliefs, cord cutting, past life healing, and also just inner child healing. And it really is a way of integrating your own divine insight, but also clearing your channel so you can do it in a grounded way and not avoiding, because dark nights of the soul always kind of happen. But when you kind of experience that, you'll be kind of in more of a container for that and have a lot of tools that really help you stay clear, grounded, and have that discernment before you even walk into it. And so that's all on my website as well. And Ho'oponopono ceremonies, yoga classes, all things. Check it out.
Cool. Thanks so much, Jennie. And thanks again for those of you who watched and tuned in with us on the Magdalene Interview Series. We'll see you again tomorrow for our next episode. And, I should say, we have a Black Madonna gathering that we're inviting people to on May 22nd. It's a Wednesday. It's from 6:30 to 8 p.m. Pacific time, and that'll be on Zoom. And it's an opportunity to bring your favorite images of Black Madonna or Divine Feminine and just have a discussion in community with other women, where we'll also be talking about, some more of the finer details, Q&A and things for the retreat itself. And so if that resonates with any of you, just reach out and we'll make sure to get you the information. And thanks again so much, Jennie, for being on the show with us today.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.